Hello everybody, it is Ebontis, and in this video, I'm not claiming to be an expert, completely honest, but I will tell you, I've practiced a lot of the moves, I've learned a decent amount of stuff, and I beat the game on normal difficulty, so I'm not going to claim to be a super master, ultra difficult ninja, unstoppable, untouchable, crazy. I'm going to wait to see what those videos look like on YouTube, and they're going to be awesome to watch. This video is coming from, one, I've never played Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, or Ninja Gaiden, so this is a brand new experience for me. I played plenty of Souls and action games and Sekiro and all that type of stuff, so I have some skill, but this was still a new moveset to learn, so I had quite a bit to kind of wrap my head around and kind of change my brain thinking about how to go about this. The parry alone, you attack when they attack. That's still different to me, and that's still something I'm probably not perfect at, and you'll see. But my goal in this video, whether you haven't played in 10 years in the franchise, or you're new to the whole genre completely like I was, to come away from this video understanding a bit more of the systems, and I'm using this training environment as a slower area to show off and kind of help you understand each of the different systems, because even if you played Ninja Gaiden, Yakumo has the Bloodraven form, and that's new to everybody. So there's still things to learn, the power attacks, the way to counter those, that type of stuff. Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden 1 through 3, technically another character you can play later on, but Yakumo, this is your main guy for basically your first playthrough, so you may as well understand how he works. Now, first thing that I want to cover before I get to anything else is lock-on. And the lock-on is something that I probably crutched on too much because I'm so used to Souls, like lock-on, move around, probably got a couple enemies. There's a lot more enemies in this thing, and sometimes there's like, hey, there's like 5 or 6 enemies in a row, and I want to get like right over here where there's like an enemy spawning thing. Well, if I have the lock on and keep trying to move over like 5 or 6 enemies, or maybe there's an airborne enemy and I'm moving up, sometimes it just wasn't going to get there. Sometimes it's just easier to like, hey, go for the airborne moment and then try and like push the stick in the direction you're trying to go, and then just go over here and attack the thing that's in the corner, as opposed to try and move the lock on. For bosses, lock on is helpful. Believe me, I used it a lot for that. But just from my like very ingrained experience of locking on to most things in Souls likes, not always helpful and sometimes detrimental the way it's kind of set up. It's not like the most perfect system in this, I'll be honest. It's a little frustrating, but that's also a reason why sometimes you don't need it and sometimes you're better off without it. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so you have a move list if you want to come in here and train. You've got your basic attacks, light attacks, midair combos, and then you've got your Bloodraven form, which we'll cover a bit later. All of those, holding attacks, charge ups, flying swallow, all of these, like there's a ton of crap in here. And then even that one that looks like a 9-button combo, that's your Izauna Drop, that's another one. So we'll cover some of those, but the whole goal in this video is to show you the systems, not every single combo that you could ever put together. So you got your light attacks. These are going to be 5 combo max. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you might follow it with a Y, or a heavy finisher. Or you might do 1 and then kind of a juggle attack. Knowing how to juggle is important. Getting an enemy in the air and then being able to do things from there can really help you out. But maybe it's 1, 2, 3, and then you finish that way. There's a lot of variety. You're probably going to have a little fun button mashing just the basic enemies that way. But there's a lot more to it than just the attacks. The X attacks are what you're typically going to use to put the basic work in, and then the heavies can be for obliterations, which are like the big finishers. Those will create the blood orbs. Those help you with both getting a little health back and also recharging some stuff faster. But also, it's the idea of you start with the X attacks, and you'll notice he's now missing an arm. You might dismember with the X attack. He's still going to be able to do some powerful attacks, even though he's missing an arm. I've also cut off their legs before. Their legs can be cut off, and then he might jump at me and try and throw his body at me and just try and explode. It's kind of crazy what these guys will do. So you need to work on finishing them, and that whole dismemberment like that, it seems a bit excessive, but believe me, if they're still crawling around the battlefield, they're trouble. So finish them off however you need to do it. It's really important. Now, the next thing is, as I said, juggling. So for your basic attacks, you're going to have certain moves that you unlock. You're going to have ninja coins. You earn those by playing the game. The first ones that are probably the most important and easiest to get are Flying Swallow, and then the Barrage, so it's just like multiple Flying Swallows, and then the Izauna Drop. Both really important to learn. So we're going to cover those first. To cover ground, Flying Swallow is really important because even enemies around the battlefield, maybe you need to move. It's jump and hold the direction, so whatever direction you're jumping, and then it's going to be that Y afterwards. And it's that long dash, allows you to cover a lot of ground, and that move actually can be really beneficial. For one, as you can see, to cover some distance, but also to potentially take that enemy out. The Barrage is just multiple. So if you do multiple, looks pretty cool. Sometimes that might take the enemy out. And if you've got the one unlocked, you may as well get it completely finished. And you'll notice I'm getting those little red orbs because I'm getting that like dismemberment, obliteration. That's when you get those things to drop. Now the other one is the Izauna Drop. Every weapon has a different combo for this. So whether you like the swords, the spear, the staff, I'm probably calling these the pretty generic name, or the tools, they all have a different combination. The one you need to learn, it's the swords, it's the basic one. So you've got X, Y, X, 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 and then the slam. Now, why is that specific thing so important? Because you're typically going to kill the enemy you smash into the ground. You're also going to do an AOE effect when you smash into the ground, so if there's multiple enemies, you'll do more damage to them. And it gets you up in the air for whatever reason you might need to do something in the air. Because if you got some airborne enemies and you need to get in the air, it doesn't help when I'm actually doing the assassination on accident, but I'm sorry about that. You can still do other things from the air, and that's just about as important as being able to take this guy and smash him down in the air. Because if you can get a relatively like beefy elite in the air and then do all of this to him, bring him to the ground, and then do even more, it's going to allow you to do quite a bit in the game. So the Izauna Drop, really important. Now if you're going to go with the spear, it's a little bit different. That's not quite it, actually. So it's 1, 2, up, 1, 2. I think it's 1, 2, up, 1, 2, up, 1, 2, up, 1, 2, and then that. So it's a slightly different sequence of things. The staff I know is like 3 in 1 and 3 in 1. So it's 1, 2, 3. Get him in the air. 1, 2, 3. And then you would go for the follow-up. Don't mind the big hammer. We'll cover what that's all about in a minute. See, his legs were gone. Even if I hadn't, like, if I'd just taken his legs off and he's crawling around, those guys are still deadly. So, different weapons, different combo. Whatever weapon you like, learn the Izauna Drop for it, because once you unlock it, it works for all weapons. It's just something you need to know the button combination for. So, Flying Swallow, very important to cover ground. Kind of with the mobility situation of Flying Swallow and the Barrage is going to be your Wind Run. This is one I do kind of suggest early on because you can eventually get to the guillotine throw through it. So first you're just going to get the Wind Run. It's a jump. Me and that assassination. So it's just a cool jump to be able to get around. Because you can do a lot, especially with bosses and things, cover ground quickly. But if you take this into the flying guillotine, you can really cover some ground. Sorry, I just needed him to die for a second. But yeah, fly and then do that. Kind of nice. That's your Wind Run. But the guillotine, that's your ability to throw them. Now, you'll eventually find ledges that you can throw them off. I can't do it in the training, but you can throw them off ledges. They eventually fall down and die, so that's a really nice way to eliminate somebody. Notice he was even in power stance. But the other thing is you can actually throw them at enemies. Throw it at the group of enemies, and they have to, like, the 6 buddies catch their buddy, and then they're all kind of staggered, and then maybe you can come over here, focus on something else, and then come back. So that's why the throw is nice. Now, there's another one called, like, a step that you can do over them. I don't find that quite as helpful. If I'm close enough to do them, I'm going to probably want to throw them, unless it's just a big guy that I can't do that to. But if you do need to get that position, that wind path is how you would get your change of position behind them. Just brutal. So, mobility-wise, Flying Swallow first. And then next mobility set's going to be like Wind Run and Guillotine Throw. Wind Path, unless Wind Path is like necessary for Guillotine Throw, then yeah, you got to do it. Before we get to all those like perfects and mirages and all that stuff, that's all about blocking and parrying. We'll cover that later. Izauna Drop, got to learn the combo. Whatever weapon you're on, figure out that combo. The sword one is easy. XY to juggle in the air, XXXY to get the big grab and finish. Those are kind of important. Now, before I get to the block, dodge, parry, and all that, because that's just like a sequence of this video by itself, weapon skills. Weapon skills are like your fighting moves for your weapons. As you use a weapon, you're going to earn like weapon experience points. That's what you use to unlock these. you'll notice I've got over here like the assassin's tools. I've got like two on the staff. I've got some here, and then I've got a lot on the swords because I spent more time here. I think the weapon experience, you can technically like earn it on any weapon and then spit it on another, but overall, this is just going to be the one that unlocks a little slower. So these, as I said, are kind of like fighting moves. So it's like down, up, X, down, up, Y, circle, X, circle, Y. Then you go into Bloodraven form, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But these are different because, say I go to the spear. I have this like circle that I do when I go to, so that one's like a big whirlwind that's kind of nice. But the skewer feast is this big circle. And same with the sword. It's a big sweeping circle that can clear out a lot of enemies. Oh, he's actually got no legs. All right, I'm going to let him jump at me just so you guys can see it. Yeah, it's a lot of health. Like, it's a full, like, health, whatever they are up there, health drop to another. So you can do, like, down, up, and X. That's a little dash that I've got. The winged blade goes through. Down, up, and Y. That's a flying beak. And that could be kind of a cool thing. Again, the guy has got to go. And it's like some of these are going to be more beneficial. Like winged blade, cover some ground, sure. As for the flying beak, that's one of those that gets me in the air and then lets me kind of slam down. Could be more beneficial for bigger enemies, maybe bosses, just kind of one that I didn't find as much. But the sweep, cannot tell you how useful that is. It's a big sweep, knocks enemies away, pretty beneficial. Same thing with the spear. It's this circle. Now if I do the, that's that spiral attack with the spear, and that's the X. But if I do, well, yeah, ignore that one. That's a bit of a Bloodraven finisher, but it's fine. That's the spiral, nice big, that one, and then that's the big circle with the finish. But this one, for example, if I do the rising, I don't mean to do those, by the way, it's just like taking over. And you can do some fun combos, but remember, it's also one of those, if you know that, well, it's just letting me finish them that way, so that's fine. If I do down up for the Rising Twister and then I go with that, I can still go into Izauna Drop. So knowing where your Izauna Drop is with your weapons, still good. Even if you're not, like, specifically going after that, if you're airborne, may as well go for the finisher. So when it comes to the weapon skills, some of those moves are going to allow you just to get to juggling or something, or a space clearing thing. As you can see, like this spiral shadow, see the demo here? 3 close enemies, clear them out. Huge. Really, really important. Now we get into Bloodraven, so I may as well talk all about Bloodraven. Bloodraven is the gauge that I've got on my screen. It's the horizontal bar, not the circle. That's a different thing. That's Berserker. That's later. When it comes to the Bloodraven form, it is useful for specific things. The attacks can obviously do a little bit more damage, but they're also going to be able to break a power stance. When you see him go into like that dark attack mode, that's the type of attack that I need to use to break that. That shattering is me breaking that stance. He's very staggered, lets me get off plenty of an attack. Now, also, if he attacks me, that's this. I need to use a block with the Bloodraven block to be able to actually like take the hit of the power stance and not like lose stagger, lose health, or anything else. So Bloodraven is also going to give you some more abilities. So like this is an ability to stand on this and then just do an attack. Now that would use my Bloodraven gauge, as you can see. It's going to use a chunk of it. You can't do it all the time. You have to charge it back up. But those power attacks, that is how you shatter that power stance, is Bloodraven attacks. Whether it's a slow one or a non-slow one. Like, I can just do some damage with it, but I'm just wasting the gauge. So that Bloodraven gauge, you want to use very deliberately. You want to know, is it going for a power attack? And shatter that, and then you can go and do a combo that lets you get more of the damage back. Because normally, I can't do much to slow them down when they're in that state. That's your perfect dodge. We'll get to those in a minute. Trying to see if I can show you. Come on, power attack me. Like, I can't do too much to him. I can't slow him down. I might be able to hit him, but he's definitely going to hit me. So anything Bloodraven's going to have the red icon that you can see here. So this is the Bloodraven attack that you can see here. So if I just hold down up, that's an attack. Down up and Y. That's a double hit over the top. And if I can just finish this guy off to be a little more reasonable. There we go. So Bloodraven is just holding left trigger, and then you're either blocking or attacking with it, but timing it to break those power stances, that's the most important part of it, because you'll use that on bosses especially to be a very important factor as well. And also you'll notice I kind of broke his normal block. If he's blocking that Bloodraven stance, like if he's blocking me, that allows me to break his block and then get more off. So you have to do it on the power stances, but it even lets me break a normal block too. Even if he's just blocking normally, that's another good reason to use the Bloodraven to shatter that block. So it's going to shatter the power stance, even if he's mid-attack, or also shatter a normal block. So now I think we need to get into the fun topic. Parries, dodges, reflects, Mirage, flash, all of this stuff. So the thing to know about the game, when you start, you're not going to have all of these. You're not actually going to have a perfect block. You'll have a parry, but the parry works. Parry is weird in this. Parry, you attack to their attack, and if you match it, you get a little parry. But you're also not going to have the fatal flash when you start. So the parry is basically just a quick stun for both of you. Then you got to do something from there. And typically they can attack just as fast as you, which is a little annoying, but it's where you start. So we're going to start and just do a parry, as long as it's not a big attack. Just be normal and hit me. There we go. So I was a little early. Okay, now I'm just losing health. Not easy timing, I'll tell you. Takes a little bit to learn it. That's a parry, but he's right back at me. See, that one I kind of missed my timing on. Come on. That one I was a little before him. My health bar is basically gone, but that's fine. Now, that is a fatal flash. You don't have that when you start to have that follow-up. But that is also like, if parries are something that work for you, fatal flash, get it. Because that's going to allow that parry function to actually have a follow-up. What you do have from the go, from Absolute Chapter 1, is your dodge. And you even have a perfect dodge like that. But this is your normal dodge. You just hold block, and you dodge. Perfect dodge is just when you see that sequence of timing, but you can dodge way earlier. This guy's just really slow, so I'm just going to finish him off. I can just move out of the way, no big deal. So dodge is just holding block and then dodge. Now block in and of itself, you can just take hits. But you only have a certain number. When you start, you can take like 4. So you got to be careful. Your body's going to go from like yellow to eventually red, and you're going to be in trouble. Like this basically goes through all mine. So if he does a power hit when I'm blocking, I can take 1. But it's going to stagger me, and it's also going to like take some of my health bar to be something I have to go and recover. As you can see up there, that little bit, I can earn it back if it's red. But blocking normal, you only have so many. Now, if he does a power attack, I can actually do a Bloodraven block, and I can take the hit to my Bloodraven gauge. And I can even do that normally, but I just wouldn't advise it because that gauge is extremely important. So you need to hold on to it where you can. So, normal block, Bloodraven block, take the hit, dodge, and that's a perfect dodge, learning that timing. Now, once you learn some of these moves, like if you can parry, which is still hard for me, we tend to match there. Still hard. Parry's a risk. It just is. So that's why early on, learn to block. Unless you're just that good, by all means, more power to you. But me, not so keen on the parries early, because they're hard. But then if you can finally follow it with something, then it can kind of be worth it. If I can actually time it right, of course. So that's where the Fatal Flash comes in, and you're like, okay, now I can actually do something with the parry. You just had to learn the timing. But around the time you get Fatal Flash, you're also going to get Reflect. Well, you're going to get Perfect Block first, because you have to be able to Perfect Block before you can Reflect. Mirage is a perfect dodge. This is another one. If dodging is more your fancy and you've got that perfect dodge down, then you can go for Mirage, which is going to allow you to follow the dodge with like a good counter. Hold block, wait for him. If they're not like half dead, they attack faster, so it makes this process a little quicker.
Someone there. Take him out.
And that's the Mirage that I can follow with. And then we've got a same thing there. So that's Mirage. You can follow it with that, and then they're probably going to be a little staggered, messed up, and you can keep going. Now, Perfect Block, you can hold block. Perfect Block's going to get a nice little stun when it happens. Of course, I took his arm off a little quick. Perfect Block's about as hard to do as a parry. It's the same timing. So that's where all of this is going to be. Yep, that was a nice little follow. And again, I did the wrong button. Guess what? I juggled him in the air. I could still Izauna Drop. So, like, the blocking is easy to hold. But then if you can do, like, the Reflect, then you can start taking advantage of the parry. Early on, can't do as much. Now, the fun part is, if you have any of those moves, you'll notice there's a variant. You can go with the Bloodraven form. So now when you do parry and then the weapon attack, it's going to be a left trigger pull, and that's going to do a Bloodraven attack, which is usually pretty badass. So if you get a parry or you get a perfect block or you get a perfect dodge and you can follow it, these sweeping or juggling things are going to be pretty massive. Then it's going to say this thing about like perfect timing. The difference is you're going to see Fatal Flash with Bloodraven form. So you got a parry and then you do the attack. A Blood Essence Orb spawns after inflicting heavy damage, which is always a good thing. And it's just a powerful counterattack. A perfect one, guaranteed to dismember surrounding enemies. So anybody around you is potentially going to be dismembered. Maybe not dead, but losing some limbs and slowed down. And if you're in Berserk state, it's going to trigger a Bloodbath kill, which we'll cover that in a little bit. So that's a perfect block. That is a perfect block to a Reflect. But in Bloodraven form, definitely a little more potent, as you can tell. Now, the perfect timing, a little harder to do. It's hard to get the perfect timing, I'll be honest. Come on. That's like not perfect Reflect, but still solid. Come on. Same thing. That's the juggle that you can do as well, because that was the perfect dodge to the left trigger pull. And you can have a little bit of fun with that one. So you've got your mobility, Flying Swallow, and the Barrage, and you've got the Izuna for the juggle to the face smash to the big AoE hit. Then it is really going to probably come down to each player, what you're more comfortable with. Blocking, parrying, perfect dodges, Raven form if you've got that gauge up more often, maybe not, and knowing where to use it too. So when it comes to those kind of things, that's where it's like, okay, I know what I need to do. But then you'll also be like, I'm just awesome, and I can do some cool stuff. And that's half of what the game's all about. Alright, the final thing we gotta do is the ultimate move. Now, the ultimate is gonna be your charge up move. Final charge is unlocking basically the second tier of that. Guidance is gonna allow you to pick up blood essence while you're charging to make the charge go faster. And then that's similar, just in a different way, by landing into an ultimate, and that's gonna also increase the speed as well. So what that looks like is your normal ultimate is about this fast of a charge. So press and hold, 1, 2, that's stage 1, that's stage 2. Now if you do a land, it literally just like from when your feet are off the ground to not on the ground. Jump, land, 1, 2. So it is faster. I know I'm probably not conveying it that well. It makes a difference though. Same thing, it can be off anything. Landing. And that ultimate move, the entire time that animation is going on, you are not going to be taking damage. So it's a really good thing to have in your back pocket. If you can time it right on a good group, on a powerful enemy, if you can actually get it off. But the whole goal would be really to actually like have the little blood orb like that be there right when you start your charge. And that's just going to make it go faster. But if you can practice just that landing timing, there you go. You see that? That red orb showed up. As soon as it did, my charge was done, and it really speeds up the process. So practice a little bit of that landing technique timing, and then there's times that that's going to be really, really helpful for you to just land, charge, get stage 1 or 2 off. Any way that you can speed up the time to be able to start this whole animation is huge. Like, I don't need to do the ultimate over and over, but you can even beat them to the ground and then go into an ultimate. So that's the more common one. And then if for whatever reason they, die, and then look, that's the charge to get the ultimate when you get the blood orbs to show up, and they're going to be frequently around more often, especially when you're holding block and stuff like that. The ultimate is just one of those, it's like, at first you're like, man, this takes a while to charge. And I'm not checking, like, frames. But as soon as you can shorten the time, get to stage 2, start the charge, and then pick up a couple of orbs, and then you're almost instantly there, it's something that becomes a lot more useful. So you'll have a little bit at first where you're like, oh, this is kind of a thing, but there's a lot going on for me to try and charge this thing up. Later on, with a couple of those unlocks, the ultimate gets a lot easier to use, and therefore just becomes a more useful tool in your arsenal. So, couple more things. We've got Berserk Stance. So, Berserk Stance is going to be that circle. When that is full, you get it by doing damage, taking damage, or obliterating. That's why the obliterations are really cool. The Berserk Stance allows you to do Bloodbath kills. So it's going to be either a charge attack of X or Y with like Bloodraven form trigger. So it's going to be like kind of like this attack. But then it's going to be in that Berserk Stance of this. That's just the normal attack. Same thing here. So those are the bigger charges, but when I'm Berserk Stance, for one, you'll notice it staggers everybody, and 2, just pretty much cuts them in half. But if I press both sticks in again, like R3 and L3 together, it instantly goes into that big attack. Anybody in the area, done. That's called a Bloodbath Slaughter. Go back down here and show you. So the Berserk state allows you to do Bloodbath kills. Bloodbath kills come with a charge of X or Y while in Bloodraven form. And then the Bloodbath Slaughter is clicking that in again. It will finish your Berserk state, so save it for the final bit, but it's either going to do a stagger to a big enemy or just complete destruction to the smaller to medium enemies. Really powerful thing if it's there. I think people going on score runs and stuff like this, if you can have this in a room where you've got waves of enemies and you can just wipe out a huge chunk of them, it's going to be huge. And honestly, it's something I probably forgot about for half my playthrough. So I think that is a lot of combo. A lot of the combat, I will say. I'm not going to claim to be perfect. I'm not going to claim to know it all by any stretch of the imagination. But if you can take this type of stuff and now you've got some sweeping attacks, like if you understand how important those are. If you've got a juggle, and then you've got your Izauna Drop when you want it. If you know when they go into power stance that you need to be in a Bloodraven block, Bloodraven. You can even do a Bloodraven perfect block. And that's even going to be a more fun thing to watch if I can get it off. And that's going to do a nice little combo as well. So that's a perfect block in Bloodraven form. And that one's just nice. Yeah. There's also like a backlash parry which is something that I get every blue moon, but I don't even quite know. It's a parry from Bloodraven, and it's just hard to pull off. There it is. So yeah, it's a Bloodraven parry attack is basically what that is. Like, if you want to time it, that's fine, but a Bloodraven attack for me is going to be more important to break the stance, not try and get that perfect parry. If you're on that high skill level, and that's the thing about this game, the skill floor is not low. Like, you got to have some skills to be able to get through this thing anyway. The skill ceiling is through the roof. That's what I'm telling you. Super Master Ninja. Unstoppable on some of these levels, I'm sure are going to be crazy videos to watch. Shout out to those who do them. But it's still fun to pull stuff off when you can and feel like a bit of a badass. And you can still always go into that. That's why I would say, like, Izauna Drop, you got to know it. It just is a must. So spend a little time in training. It's going to be a little bit like a fighting game. You got to have a few moves that you know to do. The things to unlock are going to be mobility. Figure out if you like parries, dodges, blocks, whatever it may be. And then the higher versions of those you can obviously figure out. But Izauna Drop, you got to have it. Weapon skills, as you unlock them, use them. Especially the spirals. Sword, Spiral Shadow, probably a really, really good one. And then also the Rising Stance. These are really nice to be able to stand tall, get out of the way of most anything, and either spin or completely smash something. Good for bosses, good for certain situations where that height is going to save your butt. Like Heel Strike, Falling Beak, those probably wouldn't use as much. But the spin, pretty damn good, and the Rising Stance also pretty solid. So experiment, test stuff out. It's going to be fun, but it's also going to be probably a lot of work to get a master at. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like below. Hopefully you learned something from this one. Hopefully you're jumping into the game in a little better state than you might have been otherwise. And if you do enjoy it, you know, come back, subscribe to the channel, find me on Twitter or Twitch or whatever platform you want. It's Ibantis, literally everywhere. Thank you guys. And again, comment below. This is like a team effort. If I forgot any major tips in here or something else that you guys want to throw in the comments and it's like repeated 20 times, I'll pin one of the comments, make sure everything, like the important stuff is there. So check the pin comment too after a little bit. And, you know, if there's any major stuff, I'll get it up there. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck in Ninja Gaiden. I had fun. Again, I have some, you know, qualms with the game, but it's still a very, very good game. I just didn't think it quite made it to great status for me. But the more I play the game, I will say the combat system, there's a lot of depth here, and you can be a master at it if you're really going to take the time to learn it. So have a good one, everybody. I'll see you soon. Good luck.